Yes, Scott the Woz, coming to television. You know, that's actually kind of surprising, not gonna lie, but hey, out of all the people that I'd want on TV, Scott the Woz is probably one of them. So, good job. So, hey everyone, as you can see, Scott the Woz is coming to television. I think that's pretty interesting. Particularly with the fact that some mainstream, like YouTube creators, TikTok creators, are bleeding into the mainstream television area. You can see that particularly with like TikTok influencers like Charlie D'Amelio, and just D'Amelios in general. And so I think it's pretty interesting to see all this, but I do wonder exactly which content is coming to television from Scott the Woz. Is it going to be his like specials? Because not to say that it would be a little weird. I don't know. It's a different sense of humor, right, compared to most of his other things. So hey, you know what? It'd be great if everything went onto TV, but I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. But hey, Scott the Woz on TV, that's great. But anyway, let's move on to more news, stuff that involves legitimate video games and not content creators that do things about video games. On to this week's news about games that have released. Far Cry 6 has finally come out, and for the most part, people that love Far Cry love this game. Those that don't like it, they don't. So it just seems like another Far Cry game, and yeah, I'm not sure how much longer Ubisoft can continue doing this, right? Assassin's Creed, for a while, was Ubisoft's yearly release, and yeah, let's just say that people started to hate the Assassin's Creed franchise. And so when Ubisoft said, hey, we're going to take a 2-3 year period off from creating the Assassin's Creed games, they came back with, the Egypt game. I forget what that one's called. Hold on. Assassin's Creed. It's not Odyssey. I know it's not Odyssey, but it's the one before that. Oh my god, how do I forget this? God damn it. Origins, okay. Okay, I'm gonna just cut everything off. So, to begin our news today, Far Cry 6 finally came out, and people that do enjoy the Far Cry games seem to love it, and those that don't. So, it seems just like another Far Cry game, and I'm not entirely sure how much longer Ubisoft can continue doing this, right? If you didn't know, Assassin's Creed for a while was Ubisoft's yearly release, and they were pumping out a new Assassin's Creed game every single year. And yeah, to put it lightly, people stopped liking the game series. And then Ubisoft said that, oh, we're going to take a 2-3 year gap, and then we'll release another Assassin's Creed if we want to. And they did, which was Assassin's Creed Origins, and it came to a lot of fanfare. And then they made Odyssey and Valhalla, and as far as I'm aware, those games are doing pretty well. At least I know particularly Odyssey did well. Valhalla's still yet to fully, actualize itself. But even now, Assassin's Creed has fallen into its own set of game mechanics and whatnot, and so it's kind of becoming boring because it's doing the same thing over and over again. And Far Cry 6 doesn't really change the formula. There's a few things that they did change with some of the gameplay, like skill points and how map coverage works, but yeah, I don't know how much longer Far Cry can do this, and how much longer Ubisoft can do this while still making a ton of money. But, I don't know. Maybe these games just do so well and, people just want to play another Far Cry just set in a different area with a few different mechanics, so I don't know, but who knows? But so yeah, Far Cry 6 came out, but what's probably even more revolutionary is the fact that Metroid Dread came out, and that's our next segment. Metroid Dread, after 19 years from the last 2D adventure, finally came out. And yeah, so at least from what the internet's saying, it's a great game. It's at least a 9 or 8 out of 10, and yeah, Nintendo might just make some big money off of this. At least from what I see on Twitter, like Jason Schreier's mentioning it, a majority of people from What's Good Games is playing it, and it's kind of insane just how good this game is doing when Nintendo had no faith in it. And I think what at least partially pushed Nintendo to make a new Metroid game was the fact that Mercury Steam ended up making a remake. I think it was Samus Returns for the 3DS, And the fact that games like Hollow Knight came out and it kind of showed that, hey, Metroidvanias are still a lot of fun, they're still very interesting, and people want to get those games. And so when they did announce it at E3 2021, people were like, oh. And so, yeah, Metroid Dread's going to come out, and I'm really happy. I'm still waiting for my special edition from Best Buy. I'm probably getting it tomorrow, probably. So we'll see. But I really do hope that Metroid Dread does really well, because I want Prime 4 to do well. I do want them to continue this because I think Samus is a really interesting character. I think the Metroid universe is interesting. And even though I wasn't around for a majority of its franchise life, due to the fact I wasn't born at the time, I do think that Nintendo has something really interesting on their hands if they continue making Metroid games. But hopefully it's not like, Far Cry. At the very least, Metroid Dread, gameplay-wise, is much faster than the older Metroid, so it's a little different, guys. Come on. Man, I sound hypocritical saying Far Cry is falling into like a pattern and Metroid isn't. But to be fair, though, Metroid took a 19-year hiatus. That's all I'm saying. Man, I'm a hypocrite. Now, up next, Valve warns of tinkering with the Steam Deck could end your life. And, I mean, to be fair, anything could end your life if you mess with it enough and in the wrong way. But basically, Valve said that, warns against opening up the Steam Deck at all, saying that doing so and swapping out parts may mess things up like profoundly and should only be done if you feel like taking big risks with your property and with your life, which could end if you do this wrong. That's because damaging the machine's internal battery could cause it to catch fire, and also damaging the Steam Deck by opening and messing with the parts is, not surprisingly, not covered under warranty. And so, again, not to say that every single thing you mess with will kill you, right? But I do feel like it's kind of a given if you work with any electrical machinery. Anything could have the potential of just blowing up in your face. And so, if you do plan on getting a Steam Deck, do stay safe. And if you do want to tinker with it, do it at your own risk, obviously. Recommended to have, a few fire extinguishers, a few extra people around just to make sure that if you do, for some reason, shock yourself, or it does catch fire, that you'll be A-okay and relatively safe. So, just be safe. But it does look interesting what the Steam Deck could do for the mobile gaming industry. Or the, what would you call it? Like, home game console mobile industry, kind of like what Nintendo did, but with more stronger games. I don't even know how you're going to describe it, but we'll see in the future what the Steam Deck can do. So, up next, I want to talk about Eidos Montreal. And for reference, that's the studio making the new Guardians of the Galaxy game. They are switching to a 4-day week. And as Jason Schreier mentions, I believe this is the first AAA video game studio to make the shift. Given how much competition there is for talent in Montreal these days, this will have a huge impact. And so, yeah, he's right. As far as I'm aware also, it is the first AAA video game studio to do this shift, and it's really interesting to see that, especially nowadays, the 5-day week seems to be dying down. Initially coined or started by Ford because of the fact that people were fighting for a 5-day work week because they were making them doing 6, I believe, at the time. Now people are now pushing for a 4-day week, and I think that this is going to be an interesting push. Most other industries haven't followed through with this, obviously, and this is the first gaming company, I think, or at least major gaming company, to have done this. Because I know the creators of Bugsnax and Octodad have pushed for a 4-day week, and I think they have that now. And so this is really interesting to see if other companies will follow through and attempt to project manage to work around a 4-day week, or if they do move to a 4-day week, it'll be for PR purposes and still make people work overtime just to get their games pushed out and work through crunch. And yeah, so I hope that Eidos Montreal does move to a 4-day week, and then there's not much crunch, if there is any, because to a degree, I think crunch is inevitable, right? Because sometimes you run through a problem and you're just like, what's happening here? And I need to stay extra to fix the problem. I don't think that's an unnecessary thing to ask, right? But when I say crunch, I mean CD Projekt Red, working 6 days a week, 7 days a week, working 10 hours per day. That kind of crunch is unacceptable. But maybe an extra 1 or 2 days, maybe every once in a while, I don't think that's crunch. That's more just sometimes you have to do that. But, we'll see whether or not Eidos Montreal can get around the crunch problem by moving to a 4-day week and managing around that, or if they are just doing this and saying we're on a 4-day week, but then not really. We'll see in the future. So finally, I do want to move on to the Facebook shutdown and the Instagram and WhatsApp shutdown. And why, you might ask? Because I'm going to move on to the Twitch leaks afterwards. But first, let's talk about Facebook. It went down and it impacted over 2.9 billion people. And you may think, oh, it's just a social media site. How bad could that really be? I think people do forget or tend to forget that Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram do tend to have people that, are organizing things. And so this going down was a pretty big blow. And so I think that firstly, you should have multiple platforms that you're on, even though that does may compromise, people that are trying to protest, but it does at least make sure that, if Facebook or goes down or if Twitter goes down, you're not just down and out for the count. But so, yeah, Facebook got shut down and that's pretty big, but that's not really the main focus I want to bring into light today. Today, I really want to talk about the Twitch leaks. Oh, and before I do move on to the Twitch leak, I do want to say the identity of the Zodiac Killer was confirmed, and that's kind of crazy. Anyway, moving on to the next thing, which is the Twitch leaks. So, the Twitch leaks. Basically, the source code of Twitch was leaked, and the earnings of multiple people were leaked. Unfortunately, there were a few conflicting numbers, so I don't want to also share that too. But so basically, yeah, Twitch kind of just got hacked. And so the earnings of people, not to say that it's not completely unexpected, but it's kind of easy to tell, quote unquote, how much money these people make, especially if they show their subscriber counts. You could get at least what the bare minimum money that they're making, what they're making. And yeah, I don't think the money thing is the biggest thing. It does show though, who's at the top and who's not at the top exactly. So, it's kind of interesting, but. Once again, really, the biggest thing that we really should talk about is the source code leak. And basically, that any security breaches that could happen at Twitch basically will get exploited at this point. SQL injections, buffer overflows, and things like that could be exploited. And so, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing. And so, if you haven't already changed your password... Wait, have I changed my password? Oh, what? But if you need to change your password and authorize two-factor authentication... And basically do things to protect yourself, but also make sure you got other platforms that you could jump to, because it looks like Twitch could go down more often. And so basically just watch yourself. But it's kind of interesting to see how Facebook goes down with the DNS, I think, servers and files going down, I believe is what the explanation was. And so Facebook couldn't just connect to Facebook, and Twitch's source code gets leaked around the same time. So I wonder, is this going to be a trend that's going to be happening soon, or is this just two freak accidents happening at the same time? I'm not entirely sure, but I do think it's a little concerning that the fact that the entirety of the source code, or at least the majority of the source code, was leaked from Twitch. That's pretty huge, and Facebook literally getting their files wiped to prevent Facebook from connecting to Facebook. Yeah, that's pretty big. And so we'll see if this has any further ramifications or not. I hope not, but... yeah, it doesn't look that good for Twitch. So, that's the end of this week's news. Obviously, stay safe. If you had Facebook or Twitch, make sure that you have password changes and two-factor authentication enabled, just to make sure. And for those that are enjoying the games that came out this week, continue enjoying them. But, yeah, it's looking a little bit funky out there, so stay safe, have fun, and like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And also ring that notification bell, and I'll see y'all next week. Hopefully there's a little bit more news that isn't just Facebook and Twitch going down. Because, yeah, that was kind of bad.